Hey, welcome. Let's have a sit down and discuss the currently available range of the 3D printed automatic orchid watering systems. If you're new and don't know how these work, I will link two videos in the description. One short one by me that briefly details how they work, and one longer format by Miss Orchid Girl where she goes into more depth. These systems came about from me looking for ways to take care of my orchids while I'm away. I wasn't satisfied with any available solutions, so had to come up with my own way. Turned out, these systems were actually not only keeping the orchids alive, but they are in fact making them flourish. These have been the only ways I've gotten my orchids to reflower. These systems were made because of my needs, so I figured I may not be the only one after a solution like this, hence I've decided to share them with you guys. Now let me explain. Right now the lineup ranges from a 12cm mini version to one just over 17cm. The dimensions refer to the widest part of the top section where your regular orchid pot would go in. They all get a bit smaller towards the bottom since that's just how all orchid pots seem to be. All of these systems have the same functionality, all need to be topped up with water once about every 3 months, with the longest case of an orchid surviving for 6 months without input. They need to be cleaned from the inevitable algae buildup every 3 to 7 months, which is very easy to do by the way because the algae doesn't stick to this pet, so you just wipe it with a sponge or a microfiber and it all comes off. And assuming watering takes place once a week, they will last for over 2 years on a single battery that you can easily replace. Refer to the assembly video for that. All differences are exclusively cosmetic and size based. The Mini is the smallest of the bunch, and as I said, it can accommodate pots up to 12cm. 12cm orchid pots are very common, as that's how most orchids are sold. Some of the smaller types of orchids are also commonly seen in even smaller pots. The Mini is great if you don't want to or don't have the space for the undoubtedly bulkier diamond version, which we'll talk about in a second. Which is exactly how the Mini actually came to be, as it was when a friend of mine said that the diamond was a bit too big for them and they would like to have something smaller, so put this together. The Mini is of course more restrictive by pot size as opposed to the other versions, and if you have a particularly large orchid in a small pot, it can feel a bit disproportional. Now the diamond version is the one that I mostly have around the house, and is the one that I would recommend if you don't have a specific need for the Mini or for the larger version. So to begin with, it was just this one that houses 15cm pots, since in the UK and Europe in general, all the orchid pots seem to be in sizes of 12, 13, 15 and 17cm. They also do go larger, but I've not had an orchid big enough yet. However, I then found out that through one of my customers in the US, and I imagine other places probably too, a lot of the pots are measured in inches, the sizes for which are just a little bit different from the ones over here. So for example like this 6-inch Repot Me pot. Hence the 6-inch version of the diamond system was made. They look very similar, but the 6-inch version flares out a little bit more. And the 6-inch pot thankfully fits well as well. If you have a 15cm pot, it sits perfectly fine in the 6-inch version, even has a little bit of wiggle room. The diamond systems also come with these adapters which are made for smaller 12cm pots, so they don't float when the water fills up, as that was an issue I ran into at first. And this is exactly where the other difference with the 6-inch versus the regular 15cm version come in, as in my opinion the smaller pots look better inside the 15cm version. It will vary from orchid to orchid, like for example with this one, because the branches are so long it's not particularly noticeable, but the 6-inch version often makes the orchids appear smaller. That's what you may prefer, but it's something to be aware of nevertheless. Now finally, this is the very latest edition as of filming this video, and it's the very large 17cm system. I only have one out of a dozen orchids around the house that is growing inside one of these. The orchid is over 10 years old, it got rather large and I had to repot it into a 17cm pot, therefore this system was made. I'm also aware that many people prefer to put smaller pots inside the watering systems to allow for some extra airflow, so you personally may not wish to put a 15cm pot inside the diamond system like I do, which is where this would also come in handy. The pots fit well inside without any adapters, just don't put a tiny 12cm pot in there, it will float away. Keep in mind it also fits a lot of water, specifically up to 4.5 litres compared to the 3 litres of the diamond and 1.65 litres of the Mini. So when filled up it is very heavy, hence when you're carrying it to the designated spot after filling up, don't carry it by holding onto the top or even the sides of the upper section, to be honest. Always carry from the bottom, or at the very least support it from underneath. Honestly, best do the same thing for the regular diamond versions too when you're carrying them filled up. The Mini is light enough to be carried however you want. All the systems come in a variety of colours too that you can check out on the website, and they're all 3D printed from the highest quality PET manufactured by BASF. Also, to let you know, each one of the electronic boards comes pre-programmed with the ability to water regular plants through a sprinkler. A few modifications to the actual setup are required. Reach out if that's something you're interested in. So this sums up the current available range of the automatic orchid watering systems. As I said at the beginning, they all serve the exact same function, namely soaking orchids at set day intervals. Every one of them was designed for my orchids and the requirements I had for growing them. If you share some or all of my needs, these systems will help you. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments section or email me on lev@3dping.co.uk. Thank you for watching.